Chicken nuggets have to be one of the most comforting meals. I remember when I was a kid, we grew up and these were a special treat. So in this one, we're gonna be making just that. And these are absolutely fantastic. They're super easy to make and taste absolutely incredible. We're also gonna be making a really nice mayonnaise or sauce to go alongside it. So let's get straight into it. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Alright guys, starting us off, we're going to place 1 kilo or 2.2 pounds of chicken mince or ground chicken into a large mixing bowl, and along with that we're going to add in 1.5 tablespoons or 20 grams of corn flour or starch, which is going to help bind it all together, 1 teaspoon or 5 grams of sea salt flakes, and a small pinch of ground white pepper for seasoning. Let's then get our clean hands in there and nice and deep like and mix this all together, ensuring the corn flour or starch is completely incorporated, just until you have a nice sticky hunk of chicken like this. Next, I recommend weighing the whole amount and divide it into as many nuggets as you'd like, and for an example, mine was 995 grams or 2.19 pounds, which means I actually got ripped off by the supermarket, so shame on you. But I've weighed mine to 40 grams or 1.41 ounces, which will result in 25 nuggets, and these can be rolled in your hands, then lightly pressed and shaped into nice chicken nuggets, leaving us with all of this. These can then be evenly spread out onto baking trays lined with parchment paper, making sure that they're not touching each other, then place these into the freezer for 30 to 40 minutes, which will allow them to firm up without being completely frozen. In the meantime, to make our mayo, add 1 whole egg to a tall jar or container. Along with that, add in 1.5 teaspoons or 15 milliliters of white vinegar to add acidity, 1 teaspoon or 10 grams of Dijon mustard for a sweet tang, and 200 milliliters or 210 grams of flavorless olive oil, which is the fat needed to bind with the egg to create an emulsion. Let's then place in an immersion blender and blend on a medium speed to bind the emulsion, which is our mayonnaise, ensuring that the oil is completely incorporated and the mayo is nice and thick with 3 C's. Once done, transfer the mayo to a clean bowl, making sure to scrape it all in there to avoid waste, and yes, I did scrape it all in there, I just don't need to show that on camera. And to flavour this, add in 40 grams or 1.4 ounces of American mustard for extra tang and colour, 30 grams or 1.06 ounces of sriracha sauce for a slight sweet kick, 10 grams or 0.35 ounces of oyster sauce for a beautiful umami flavour and saltiness so there's no need to add additional seasonings, and 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of buttermilk for a creamy acidic punch, but this can be omitted if you can't get it. With this, just give it all a quick mix together until it forms a nice golden colour and those flavours have become friends, then this can be placed in the fridge until we're ready to serve and up to 3 days for longer storage. Now place a pan or pot over medium-high heat and pour in enough canola, sunflower or vegetable oil to fill it by 1/3 or just under halfway, and heat it to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit using a thermometer for best results. Whilst that's heating, add 1.5 cups or 210 grams of plain all-purpose flour to a mixing bowl, along with 1 1/4 cups or 150 grams of corn flour or starch, 1 tablespoon or 8 grams of paprika for peppery notes and colour, 2 teaspoons or 5 grams of onion powder for flavour concentration, and 1.5 teaspoons or 7.5 grams of garlic salt for a garlic infusion and salty seasoning. This can then be given a mix with a whisk or fork to combine, and this is going to be used to dredge and batter our nuggets. Along with the additional seasonings and spices, the plain regular flour is what's going to get these coated, and the addition of corn flour or starch is going to ensure that we have a nice crispy shell. Right about now, our nuggets have firmed up, which is going to make these a lot easier to work with. Place a few at a time into the seasoned flour mix and get these nicely dusted all over, making sure to shake off any excess flour and place them back onto the baking tray to do the others, leaving us with all of these beauties, plus a few on another tray off camera. Now to the flour mix, pour in 1 3/4 cups or 430 milliliters of cold soda water and whisk to combine to create a runny but slightly thick batter. If you didn't know, the reason for using soda water is because it's highly carbonated, which will create little pockets of air or bubbles in the batter, and when this is fried, the oil will be able to get up in there, which will result in a beautifully crispy and crunchy batter. With that done, take everything over near the stovetop and lightly batter each nugget, scraping off any excess, also making sure that there's no dry spots, which is like what happens when you make a hot chocolate and the powder is still dry at the bottom of the cup. Then in batches, gently place 3 or 4 battered nuggets into the hot oil, doing so away from you to avoid splashback, and fry these for 2.5 minutes on each side, obviously carefully flipping them halfway through, and then once that's done and they're beautifully golden brown, place them onto a wire rack over a baking tray and repeat with the remaining batches. After all that, lightly season with sea salt flakes, and then what we've just created here is these incredibly golden and crispy chicken nuggets that also look amazing, and when torn open, reveal that beautiful juicy center and that perfect crispy shell. The last thing to do is chuck all of these onto a serving board or platter, serve alongside the mayo, which I ran out of serving bowls, that's why there's such a small amount, and without further ado, let's make this all worthwhile, and we can then dig in.